Have you seen those discussions online about is whole grain bread better for you or is sourdough better for you? And well, can't we have both? Of course we can. And we can even double the protein. Now I hear you saying, yeah, but if you add protein, it gets dry, doesn't it? Not with my method. If you add cottage cheese and whey protein powder in a good balance, together with sourdough, your bread will be lovely and light and fluffy. But then it'll need lots of kneading, won't it? Because it's whole wheat and otherwise you don't get it fluffy. Well, I have tested that too. Knead or no knead is the question, and we will answer that in this video. And then, as a little bonus, if you have whole grain flour coarsely ground in your larder and are wondering, can I use that stuff instead of bread flour? We'll be answering that too. So, let's get into it. I decided to start with the coarse whole wheat flour and show you how that looks. And as you can see, this is very sticky. And I had to bake it in a bread tin to get it halfway shaped. On the other hand, we have the strong whole wheat flour, which makes a really nice loaf, to be honest. Here's a strong whole wheat flour, which looks good, and the coarse one just looks like a soda bread, essentially. And before we get to the kneaded or not kneaded discussion, I show you my starter, which I'm making with a little less water these days than before. So you get a firmer consistency, which gives you a longer activity time, and with that, a lot more flexibility as to when to mix your dough and bake your bread. As you can see, this is pretty firm. And here's the day before, and then how it has risen the day after. Now you can see the gluten strands here, and it has developed quite nicely. So for the recipe, I mix the flour with the salt, then as so often use cottage cheese as one protein part, whey concentrate as a second part, bit of malt syrup for this recipe because it's delicious, and then I blend it together with water until creamy. In goes my sourdough starter and just gets mixed in briefly so to combine it a little with the liquids. That goes all into the flour, and then I give it a stir with the Danish dough whisk I love to just get a shaggy dough, which I then halved, and half of it I put in a bowl to be left to its own devices until I do the stretch and folds, and the other one I kneaded to about an inch of its life for at least 10 minutes, and then a little more with my KitchenAid. And as you can see, it turned out quite sticky. The no-knead, on the other hand, was quite easy to work with, and I just gave it a quick stretch and fold, and that was all I did. I then put both in a box and labeled them so I won't forget what's what. And then I gave both a quick set of stretch and fold every half hour over the next 1.5 hours to give them both a bit more strength. Then I left them to bulk ferment and went straight to the shaping. Kneaded, not kneaded. If your dough sticks to your banneton, just spread with a bit of water, put a bit of rice flour in it and shake it until it's covered. Whole grain bread needs a tiny bit of help to properly rise because the grain cuts into the gluten and kind of breaks it apart. So I'm doing a lamination process here, a letter fold first, then stretch it out and roll it up starting from the short side really tightly so you get a really nice oven rise out of this. And then you pinch the seam closed and the sides the same like the short side, so you have a bit of a closed bread. Push your palms under it until you have an even oval shape, and then put it in your rice flour banneton. I put that in a bag for the overnight rice. Now here is how I score it. I froze it first for 30 minutes and then you get a really nice and even score. And here you see the difference. And that's quite the surprise, isn't it? The no-knead version has more of an ear, while the kneaded version is more rounded on the side. Knead, no knead. So are you team knead or no knead? I know what I do. But here's the last test. 80% hydration versus 85. 80 is on the left, 85 on the right, and I went with this one because it gave me the best rise out of both breads. The flavour of both was nutty, hearty and lovely, with a bit of butter just fresh from the oven, or perfect sturdy as a sandwich.